accidentally ranked top of the class, the Ice Queen, Tiffany Sterling, wants me to be her boyfriend. But when I heard the news, all I wanted to do was run because I'm the only one who knows the truth. On the outside, Tiffany Sterling is calm and collected, but inside, she's a total psycho. Not only is she ruthless and uncaring, but she also treats human life like it's nothing. I thought to myself, this is not good, and immediately she pinned me against the wall, kissing me hard. I was surprised, a kind of electric shock running down my spine, and I could smell her perfume as she put her arms around me. Tiffany Sterling licked her red lips, a devilish grin on her face. "Let's leave a little mark on you today," she said. "From now on, you're mine. See you tomorrow at the school gates to talk more." I stood there frozen as Tiffany Sterling turned and walked away. I angrily wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and sprinted back to my dorm. I felt incredibly annoyed. Why was I being stalked by some psycho who suddenly wants to be my boyfriend? What bad luck, all of this happening today. Just then, my best friend, Kyle Davies, came back from dinner, looking surprised to see me lying on my bed. "Hey, buddy, why are you back so early?" he asked. I got up from the bed, annoyed, and briefly told him what had happened in the library. "If I wasn't against hitting women, she'd be begging for mercy in 3 seconds, I said. Kyle scoffed as he sat down at his computer. "Don't say I didn't warn you, dude. Tiffany Sterling is on the school's rifle team, the best one. And she's strong enough to beat you with her bare hands." I was a little unnerved, but I stubbornly said as I lay back down on my bed, "I don't fight girls." Kyle, without turning around from his computer, asked, "So, are you going to meet her tomorrow?" Kicking off my shoes, I pulled the blanket over me. "Are you crazy? Just because she calls, I have to go? What am I, a puppy? Whoever wants to go can go. I'm definitely not going." The next morning, being a weekend, many students had gone home for the break, so the campus was pretty empty. At 9 a.m., a beautiful figure stood at the school gates, her face radiating an icy aura. Tiffany Sterling, wanting to make the best impression, had carefully dressed for this date. But now she was really mad at me. She checked her watch again, it was already past 10 a.m., and he still hadn't shown up. A security guard ran from the men's dormitories with a hesitant look on his face. "Ma'am, it seems that Mr. Lewis is still sleeping in his room, he hasn't gotten up yet." Hearing this, Tiffany Sterling's face darkened. She had gotten up early to wait here and make a good impression, but he was still sleeping in bed. Only Tiffany Sterling waited for others, no one had ever dared to make her wait this long. "Take me to him," she commanded. Tiffany Sterling, with a cold expression, led them directly to the men's dormitories. The 3 bodyguards behind her were tall, muscular, and looked intimidating. Knowing their boss, Lewis was sure to be in deep trouble. Soon, the men's dormitories were in an uproar. The news of Tiffany Sterling barging into the men's dormitories spread quickly, but no one dared to broadcast it. Sterling Enterprises was a major investor in the university. Offending their family would make future problems. If anyone saw Tiffany Sterling, all would avoid her in fear of being caught by her eye. This also made Tiffany Sterling have almost no friends at school. But that part that she was arrogant. It was that everyone was afraid of her. In a matter of time, Tiffany Sterling arrived at dorm room 312, with a cold look on her face. The bodyguards took a step forward, opened the door, and stood to the side respectfully. Tiffany Sterling stepped directly inside. The 3 bodyguards followed in succession and closed the door right after. From within, there were a few whimpers. Inside room 312, Kyle Davies was thrown into a corner with a terrified look. His limbs were tied up with rope, and tape was over his mouth. He struggled but quickly dared not to move again. One of the bodyguards grabbed a pair of scissors from the desk and faced the nether regions of Kyle Davies. Need not to say what would happen next. Tiffany Sterling walked to the bed, giving a cold look at me sleeping, and gave out a cold laugh. "I have been waiting at the front gate, and he is just enjoying the pleasure." It seems that my words were ignored. On the bed, I was lying sideways. The lip stinging shocked me and caused me to wake up. Kyle Davies, who was thrown in the corner, looked on in disbelief, looked at Lewis being woken up by Tiffany Sterling kissing. There were a hint of jealousy. Why is a kiss so precious and easily done? Let him go, and I will do it. Tiffany Sterling pulled on the head, which was filled with fear. The eyes of Tiffany Sterling were cold as a red lip was placed on my lip. The tooth directly bit into my lip, causing a smell of blood to linger in my mouth. My body struggled to get up in fear, but Tiffany Sterling used her hands and had total control. I had no chance of escaping. After 5 minutes, I gave up. Tiffany Sterling sat on the bed with a dark face and laughed in a cold voice. No one has dared to reject me, but your courage is very much that I like it. I was frozen in the corner of the bed and yelled, "You are insane. This is the guy's dorm. Go back to your room." As soon as I finished my words, Tiffany Sterling's eyes grew colder like a layer of frost. You said that you would go to my room? Are you better than me? Seeing that the eyes that I was cornered in, I felt uneasy and did not dare to move. The bodyguards behind looked as if I had upset a lot of people. If I had known that it would be this troubling, I should have changed to something else. Tiffany Sterling stood up, clapped her hands, and gave a cold order. In 5 minutes, I want to see him downstairs. After speaking, she did not turn her head around and walked out the door. The bodyguards swarmed to hit me as the room filled with tragic cries. Kyle Davies saw that his body was shaking and shut his eyes. Don't blame me for not saving you. God is helpless. There was a red Maybach downstairs, and Tiffany Sterling was looking at the time. 1 minute had passed as the car opened, and I was pushed in, giving me a pillow on her leg. Tiffany Sterling kicked me to the ground with a cold smile. Are you happy with the treatment? Being stepped on, I gave a big sigh. What did you like about me? I'll change. Tiffany Sterling, seemingly angry, gave me a dangerous look. If you dare to say no, the results will be imaginable. I frowned and gave 3 fingers. You aren't a person that I like. I am not interested in the things that you say about the money. Tiffany Sterling looked at me and gave a disgusted look. I am not interested in a child's game. As soon as I said that, Tiffany Sterling was stunned as the driver looked in the mirror. How dare this kid say these words to me? As expected, the smile on Tiffany Sterling's face disappeared as she spoke to the driver. Drive home, I feel terrible. As I suspected, I am going to be dragged home and killed. Let me down, I still had things to say. Tiffany Sterling was stopped by grabbing my collar and shaking it until my eyes rolled to the back. The home of the Sterling family. After a long time, I opened my eyes and looked around at the strange room. This is where. My limbs were tied to each corner of the bed. I can't escape. The crazy lady dared to chain me up. Is she thinking of what would happen if I rejected her and did something like this? Just then, the door opened from the bathroom, giving off a tempting smell. I stopped to struggling and twisted my neck to look at the bathroom. My face turned red as I immediately closed my eyes. You are crazy. I saw Tiffany Sterling coming out with her hair wet, and stepping on the bed. As Tiffany Sterling saw my red face, she could not help but laugh and look at the bed. I kept my eyes closed and trembled as I said, I am warning you, you are not forcing to take my body because I would never do that. Tiffany Sterling stepped on the bed with no head turned. Only forcing a woman would be called our asterisk asterisk asterisk. The first of the graduating class could not differentiate. I gave a trembled voice, tell me what you want and let me go and I promise to be you for all of my life. Tiffany Sterling stepped on the bed. Let me tell you what I want. As she was saying that, Tiffany Sterling had sat next to me and grabbed my lips, and had a hot and wet tongue going down my throat. I had my eyes wide opened and the room filled up with heavy breathing. Tiffany Sterling released her hands and was breathing heavy. Is this a game to you? The mouth was filled with the smell of Tiffany Sterling and the taste had come to the side of the mouth. I closed my eyes and said, don't think about it. Tiffany Sterling looked at me and smiled. You are stubborn, but I like it this way. After an hour, I could not withstand it and yelled, "I give in." Tiffany Sterling gave a satisfied look. "I need to use the extreme measures. Do you want to be my boyfriend?" "I do," was the trembled voice. Tiffany Sterling, waiting outside, said coldly, "I need to teach you a lesson." "What do you think?" As I saw that dangerous look, I became scared and hastened to the car. Tiffany Sterling said, "Heaven's Flower Mall. It is the greatest shopping center with the most products and partners in the country." As I got to the mall, I hastily ran out of the car because it was depressing. It felt like I was going to get killed. As Tiffany Sterling got out, the looks of all of the men looked her direction. Her eyes were cold and I was stopped in place. Her eyes looked like she was going to kill me. I was shocked and felt something scared, and was pulled back by my feet. Tiffany Sterling was not moving and was not planning to move. "Why don't you move? What type of relationship do we have?" Tiffany Sterling's eyes were cold and stared in the direction of my face. As I said that, I felt uneasy and replied with a shaky voice, "The relationship of a boyfriend and girlfriend." But the hesitation on my face made her turn around. Turn around. Although I did not know why, I listened and followed the orders. Seeing that I had turned around, Tiffany Sterling lifted her legs and gave me a kick in the ****. With no time to react, I collided into the ground. The kick caused the people to look at the action and move away. I gave her an angry look and said, "Are you insane? Why do you kick me?" Tiffany Sterling gave me a cold look and said, "The kick says that you don't accept me as a girlfriend, and I am very unhappy. We have only met for 2 days. And you want me to accept you as a girlfriend?" Looking around, a thought had ran in my mind. How am I at a villa? Why don't I run? With these thoughts in my mind, I had the idea of running. The angry look was immediately replaced with an honest smile as I grabbed Tiffany Sterling's hands. It was that I didn't understand this situation of being together. As I had grabbed her hand, the smile on Tiffany Sterling's face was fading. "You know the truth. That is the last time." With that, the two of us grabbed each other's hands and entered the shopping center. I was planning to go get something to drink, but I was pulled into a Rolex store by Tiffany Sterling. The manager of the store came and spoke with a respectful voice. "Miss Sterling, what would you like?" Tiffany Sterling let go of my hands and coldly told the manager, "Find the most expensive watch you have here. It is for him. The right watch should be the best." Hearing this, I scratched my head in surprise. "That's not really necessary, this is a Rolex." Tiffany Sterling replied indifferently, "You're my boyfriend now. Your whole outfit adds up to less than $500, don't you feel embarrassed?" "But I do." Since she'd said that, I had no choice but to nod. The female manager smiled and went behind the glass display case, skillfully taking out 3 limited edition Rolex models. These 3 are the latest arrivals at the Jiangqing branch, all limited editions. Seeing the 3 obviously expensive Rolex watches in front of me, I couldn't help but look at Tiffany Sterling beside me. She said coldly, "What are you looking at me for? Hurry up and pick one, or take them all." "Take them all?" Hearing this, I immediately picked the one in the middle. "This black and white Rolex doesn't look too flashy, I'll take this one." The female manager smiled and put away the other 2. "No problem. The price of this watch is $38 million yuan. It's very rare in the country." Hearing this price, my hand holding the watch trembled, nearly dropping it. I couldn't help but click my tongue. That's insane. Almost 40 million for a watch? Is this robbing a bank? But Tiffany Sterling didn't even blink an eye at the price. She directly took out a black card and handed it over. Soon, a precious watch appeared on my left wrist. My worth had skyrocketed from $500 yuan to nearly 4 million, truly a leap in quality. Stepping out of the Rolex store, Tiffany Sterling whispered in my ear, "Now that you have a watch, if you dare to be late for a date, I guarantee you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Hearing this, the corner of my mouth twitched. So, buying such an expensive watch was just so I wouldn't be late for a date. You really can just do whatever you want when you have money. Wanting to escape quickly, I pointed to the bubble tea shop in the distance and suggested, how about I treat you to bubble tea? Tiffany Sterling looked at the bubble tea shop not far away. She rarely drank such things, but since this was my first time inviting her to drink something, she reluctantly agreed. Okay, whatever you want. Hearing this, I happily led her over. The bodyguards behind us naturally followed closely. There were quite a few people lining up since it was the weekend. Tiffany Sterling sat on a chair outside the shop and waited, while I naturally went to line up to buy bubble tea. Taking this opportunity, I secretly surveyed the surrounding environment to determine an escape route. After lining up for more than 10 minutes, it was finally my turn. I casually ordered 2 cups of bubble tea. 40 yuan from her was instantly spent. After giving 1 cup to Tiffany Sterling, I directly picked up my bubble tea and took a sip. Tiffany Sterling looked at the bubble tea in her hand, then looked at the bubble tea I had just taken a sip from, and directly snatched the cup from my mouth. I'll drink this cup. The two of us walked around the shopping center for a while longer. Seeing that the time was right, I casually said, I'm going to the bathroom for a bit. Wait for me here, okay? Tiffany Sterling, unsuspecting, nodded. I rejoiced in my heart and directly dashed into the bathroom, a smile that couldn't be suppressed on my face. Finally, I could escape this troublesome woman. Entering the bathroom, I quickly ran to the ventilation window, directly pushed the window open, and looked down. I was currently on the 2nd floor of the shopping center. With my physique, I could withstand this height. Grabbing the edge of the window, I squatted on the windowsill, then looked down at the grass below and directly jumped down. Touching down, I smiled brightly. Freedom, here I come. Thud. I landed perfectly on the ground. Since there was soft soil under my feet, I wasn't affected much by the force of the impact. Looking at the vast sky in the distance, I took a deep breath. The breath of freedom is so wonderful. Glancing back at the 2nd floor, I smiled derisively. You want to imprison me? Go play your family games by yourself. After saying this, I didn't look back and ran out of the shopping center, my face full of longing for the future. The passers-by looked at me running with strange eyes. Is this guy an idiot? Why is he smiling so happily? Just then, a yellow and white taxi drove up from afar and stopped in front of me. I instinctively called out, "Driver," to Jiangqing University as fast as possible. As the car door closed with a thud, I was stunned, the smile freezing on my face. Looking at the man in black in the car and Tiffany Sterling with a cold face, how could she be here? In my heart, I nearly wanted to cry. No way, my plan was obviously perfect. How could I have been discovered? Something must be wrong. Tiffany Sterling sat in the car, coldly looking at me with a faint smile. You're quite good at running, aren't you? So, that's why you were so obedient at the entrance of the shopping center, you were planning to run away. Since things had come to this, I wouldn't pretend anymore. That's right, that's exactly what I was thinking. What are you going to do? If you have the guts, kill me. Glaring at this crazy woman, my aura wasn't weak in the slightest. Seeing this, a gloomy expression appeared on Tiffany Sterling's face. Fine, since you want to die so much, I'll grant your wish. Tiffany Sterling directly ordered the driver to drive to a deserted place to bury this guy. Hearing this, my body trembled slightly as I sat beside her, undetectable, but my face still tried to maintain a calm expression. I secretly took out my phone from my chest and sent a message. At the same time, Kyle Davies in dorm 312 of Jiangqing University was intently playing League of Legends when he glanced at the notification for a message. Son, quickly come save your godfather, with a real-time shared location displayed below, showing my current location and still constantly moving, heading towards the outskirts of Jiangqing. Kyle Davies looked at the SOS message on his phone, then looked at the game that had already started. Hesitation appeared on his face, then he slapped himself. I'm such a bastard. How can I hesitate between my best friend and the game? After saying this, Kyle immediately grabbed his electric scooter keys and ran out of the dorm. Half an hour later, in a desolate mountain on the outskirts of Jiangqing, 3 bodyguards and the driver were working hard to dig a hole. I was tied up and thrown to the side, my eyes revealing terror, unable to believe it. Looking at Tiffany Sterling sitting in the car, was she really going to do it? Was it too late to regret it now? As time passed, a 2-meter deep hole had been dug. Just burying the person in it would be enough to fill it up. Seeing this, Tiffany Sterling got out of the car as well. Her snow-white shoes were already stained with dirt. She sat down and took the rag out of my mouth. Do you have any last words? Although I can't help you, I can still listen. As the rag was taken out, I could finally speak, pitifully looking at Tiffany Sterling. Sister. This time I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me just this once. I know I was wrong. Tiffany Sterling tilted her head, her eyes cold. Obviously, I've already given you a chance, but you didn't cherish it yourself. I looked panicked, tied up on the ground, my face miserable. Please give me another chance. I'll definitely cherish it. Burying me won't do you any good either. How about giving me another chance? Tiffany Sterling looked at me with her dark eyes, seemingly thinking about whether she should give this guy another chance. Just then, a small motorcycle roared over from afar. Kyle, one hand steering the bike, the other holding a shiny knife, shouted loudly, "Don't be afraid. I'm here to save you." Seeing Kyle suddenly appear, my expression changed. In my heart, as if I had something to rely on, I smiled. Good, I didn't misjudge my best friend. Quickly come cut me loose. Tiffany Sterling gestured for the bodyguard standing beside her, who understood her intention and blocked Kyle in front of him. About 2 minutes later, Tiffany Sterling, expressionless, sat down in front of me and Kyle, snapping the toy knife in his hand. Just as she let go, the knife even bounced twice. The corner of my mouth twitched as I looked at Kyle, who was also tied up, veins popping on his forehead. I told you to come save me, but you brought a cheap toy knife here to kill yourself. Tiffany Sterling looked at me with interest. Now your best friend has also come to be with you. If you have anything to say, go ahead and say it. I pursed my lips. What other tricks did I have? If I just gave up like this, wouldn't I lose all face? But if I didn't give up, I might be sent to heaven. Kyle trembled all over, seeing that he was about to be buried alive, and hurriedly advised me, "Buddy, if you ask me, you should just agree. Beautiful and rich, others want a chance but don't get it." No way. A fire of anger rose in my heart, completely unwilling to yield. I, Louis Lin, with the word trust in my name, am a real man. How could I let a woman? Before I could finish, Tiffany Sterling cut me off. It sounds like you have something to say. What is it? Seeing that her eyes were on him, Kyle trembled. I think he should just agree. It's not a bad thing. Oh? And why is that? Because Miss Tiffany is so pretty, and so rich, and has such a great figure. If you miss this opportunity, you'll definitely regret it for the rest of your life. Tiffany Sterling smiled, and then looked down at me again. What about you? What do you think? I gritted my teeth, but finally couldn't help but say, I agree. Tiffany Sterling stood up and said to the bodyguards, "Untie them." Kyle was overjoyed and kept thanking me. I looked at Tiffany Sterling and said, "Can you let me go now?" Tiffany Sterling suddenly smiled and said, "Of course, but before that." She suddenly leaned down and kissed me hard on the lips. This time, I finally didn't resist and let her do as she pleased. After the kiss, Tiffany Sterling stood up and said, "I'm very happy. From now on, you're really mine." I looked at her and smiled bitterly. Maybe this was fate. Hearing this declaration of unwillingness to yield, Tiffany Sterling completely lost patience. A cold glint flashed in her eyes, and she directly stood up and ordered the bodyguards to bury him. After saying this, she turned and walked towards the car, her footsteps without the slightest pause. Damn it. You're too stupid, buddy. Kyle resentfully cursed. Why didn't you pretend to agree? We could have waited until we escaped and then. Seeing the group of bodyguards approaching, my heart also trembled slightly. What to do? Was my reputation for a lifetime going to be buried in this mountain? Seeing the two bodyguards getting closer and closer, Kyle urged even more anxiously, "Hurry up and agree. I'm still young, I don't want to die. I haven't even cleared my browsing history yet. And there's still 18 terabytes of data." Seeing that Tiffany Sterling had already opened the car door, I finally couldn't bear it anymore and shouted, "Sister, I was wrong." Just as I said this, Tiffany Sterling didn't have any reaction, only silently opening the car door, her back facing the two of them, as if waiting for something. I quickly shouted again, "Darling, I was wrong." Hearing the two words darling, Tiffany Sterling finally turned around with a smile and ordered the two bodyguards to untie them and put them in the car. I and Kyle breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that we wouldn't be buried alive. Soon, I was thrown into the car, while Kyle pitifully rode his small motorcycle back. As the car slowly started, the car door was directly locked. I was pressed into the corner by Tiffany Sterling and tremblingly said, what are you going to do?" Tiffany Sterling raised her hand and put her arms around my neck, her whole body directly sitting on my lap, gently saying in my ear, "Kiss me." "I don't want to." Without the slightest hesitation, I shook my head and refused, without the slightest bit of life in me. Tiffany Sterling's expression turned gloomy, raising her hand and directly grabbing my neck, saying in a cold voice, "Did you misunderstand something? I'm giving you an order, not negotiating." My face flushed red, and I hurriedly said, I'll kiss, okay?" Only then did Tiffany Sterling let me go, again leaning against my body, her voice becoming gentle. "Hug my waist, kiss me." Having no other choice, I had to tremblingly raise my hands and slowly hug Tiffany Sterling's slender waist, bowing my head and kissing her red lips. The fragrance spread from the tip of my nose. I awkwardly used my lips to lightly touch Tiffany Sterling's red lips, then immediately wanted to pull away. A pair of hands suddenly reached out and held my head tightly. Tiffany Sterling had guessed it, grabbing my collar and then taking the initiative to kiss me. I widened my eyes, wanting to push her away, but no matter how hard I tried, it was useless, and I had to grit my teeth, not letting her tongue enter. Tiffany Sterling attacked several times without success, directly punching me in the stomach. I felt a sharp pain in my stomach, instinctively opening my mouth. Tiffany Sterling seized the opportunity to attack, beginning to constantly plunder. After a long while, as the car drove into the city area, Tiffany Sterling pressed her face against my heaving chest, her soft body pressing close to me. "This time, I hope you've learned your lesson. From now on, whatever I tell you to do, you have to do it. Don't try to resist me, understand?" I silently said nothing, only letting Tiffany Sterling sit on my lap, my two hands hugging her waist. The car finally stopped at the gate of Jiangqing University. At this time, it was already afternoon, and there weren't many people at the school gate. "Give me your phone." Tiffany Sterling raised her hand towards me. "What are you taking my phone for?" I reluctantly took out my phone from my chest. After a while, Tiffany Sterling returned the phone, stopping at the contact interface. At this time, there was an additional phone number on it, noted as Wife Tiffany. Folding her arms, she warned, "From now on, if I call and you dare not answer, wait to die." After saying this, she turned and sat back in the car. Before leaving, she didn't forget to give me a threatening look, which showed that she was very serious. What the hell was this? I walked towards the dorm in a daze, feeling that the future was a dark abyss. Slowly returning to the dorm, I just laid on the bed and closed my eyes, wanting to rest for a bit, when I suddenly heard my phone ringing. Damn it! Only a few minutes had passed, and that little devil was already calling me. I quickly took out my phone, but it wasn't Tiffany Sterling, that cruel woman. Seeing the contact, I directly chose to answer the call. Hey, where are you?" Hearing Tammy's voice on the other side, I replied in a lazy voice, "At the dorm, about to sleep." "What's up?" Tammy was my high school classmate, a very close friend, and also attending the same university, so we usually had more contact. Moreover, on the weekends, Kyle, that rebellious guy, to woo Tammy's friend, had dragged me out to play several times. Tammy was at the club, propping her chin up with her hands, suggesting, "Didn't we discuss going hiking together before? Just now, I heard that building number 5 will be under construction in a few days, so I wanted to take advantage of the day after tomorrow's holiday for us to go together. I know you asked for leave, so you must be very free now." In Tammy's words, there was a bit of coercing intent. The corner of my mouth twitched. Were all women so domineering now? One like this, two like this, were they even going to let people live? Okay, whatever. Just then, Kyle had also returned to the dorm. "Hey, kid, why not find an opportunity to get revenge?" Laying on the bed, Kyle was suddenly sitting cross-legged on the bed, watching some adult film. Hearing this, I didn't bother to turn my head and mocked, "Get revenge? That's the young lady of the Sterling family. Do you dare even think about it? It's already good that she's not causing you trouble, and you still want to go find trouble with her? You're really holding a lamp to find sh*t in the toilet." Although that's what I said, she had saved my life. I was almost buried alive. If I didn't get revenge, I wouldn't be a man. I fiddled with my phone, saying, "Just as long as you're willing to help me, I'll give you my collection." "How about it?" "Your collection?" Kyle's eyes lit up, unable to believe it, turning his head to look at me. "Are you serious? I asked you so many times before, but you never gave it to me. Are you really giving it to me so easily?" A smile appeared on my face. "Don't say so much nonsense. Are you doing it or not?" Kyle didn't bother watching the movie anymore, directly going to sit beside my bed, excitedly asking, "What do you want to do?" Actually, he also wanted to get revenge, but Tiffany Sterling's power was too great, and he completely didn't know where to start. I sat up from the bed, mysteriously reaching under the bed. Finally, I took out a yellow plastic bag, a sinister smile appearing on my face. D*MN. Where did you get that plastic bag from? And you were even hiding it under the bed? Kyle looked at the plastic bag in shock. "You don't need to ask so much." I smiled slyly. "I don't believe those bodyguards will always follow that little devil Tiffany. Isn't she very strong? So what? Can we two together not be able to do anything?" Kyle's eyes also flashed with a glint, waving his hand. "Okay, let's decide on this. When are we going to strike?" I looked at the color of the sky outside, already having a decision in my heart. "Tonight. I'll ask her out. As long as she doesn't bring bodyguards, won't it be easy for us to deal with her?" Thinking about Tiffany Sterling's domineering personality, if she was stuffed into a fertilizer bag, I wondered what kind of expression she would have. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Not to delay, the two of us didn't even eat dinner, directly getting up and starting to prepare the kidnapping location and the necessary tools. We had to choose a place without surveillance cameras and also prepare gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints or any evidence. Late at night, while bathing in the bathtub at the villa, Tiffany Sterling received a call from me. She looked at the phone in surprise. With his personality, for him to take the initiative to call her was truly rare. The other end of the line immediately. "Do you miss me?" "Oh," Tiffany Sterling replied without any warmth. "I know you are angry at me, but I have something I want to tell you in person." Hearing this, Tiffany Sterling said flatly, "Okay, I'll see you at the park." After hanging up the phone, Tiffany Sterling couldn't help but sneer. She wanted to see what other tricks I was going to play, but she had a feeling that I didn't know what the consequences of provoking her were. In the end, I was just an ant that could be crushed to death at any time. I really am looking forward to what he will say. I will be giving a little punishment. I wanted to talk to you. Could we meet outside for a bit?" My hesitant voice came through the phone. Tiffany Sterling's eyes instantly sparkled. "So, you want to talk about our future?" I hurriedly said, to avoid revealing any slip-ups, "I'm waiting at the cafe, come alone, okay?" After saying this, I directly hung up the phone. The phone emitted a beep, beep sound. He's even shy, Tiffany Sterling laughed, saved the call history, and then directly stood up and left the bathroom. The drops of water on her body fell to the ground, reflecting her perfect figure. Soon, Tiffany Sterling drove away from the villa alone, a look of anticipation on her face. Half an hour later, it was already 9 p.m. On a mountain in Fangshan, two figures were secretly discussing something next to a wooden house used for resting. Kyle, with a black hooded cap on his head and gloves on his hands, had a yellow fertilizer bag placed beside him. I said, "Hey, is this really going to work? If something goes wrong, we'll both be in real trouble." I patted my best friend on the shoulder, confidently saying under the streetlights, "Don't worry, that girl likes me so much, she'll definitely come." Just then, a car drove straight towards this direction from afar. The bright headlights were particularly prominent in the night. Damn it! She came so fast. Kyle didn't dare to hesitate and directly snuck into the wooden house next to us, holding his breath to avoid being discovered. The red Maybach in front of me drifted wildly, stopping right in front of me. As soon as she got out of the car, she hurriedly used her warm body to hug me. "Honey, I missed you so much." I didn't expect this girl to be so affectionate as soon as she met me. My face couldn't help but turn red, but I still tried to endure the awkwardness and said, "Yeah, I missed you too." At the same time, I gestured for Kyle, who was hiding in the wooden house, to go out and execute the plan. "I just want to know what you like about me." Tiffany Sterling, with her back to the wooden house, smiled and said to me, "Of course, I like everything." A figure sneakily came out of the wooden house, not making any footsteps, holding a plastic bag to attract Tiffany Sterling's attention. My expression suddenly became extremely serious and said to her, "I love you." Tiffany Sterling, hearing this, was indeed stunned. Under the cover of the night, Kyle had already sneakily come behind her. How could he miss this good opportunity? He directly held the plastic bag and covered Tiffany Sterling's head. I tilted my head, a smug smile on my face. In my mind, I had already begun to imagine how to reclaim what I had been bullied out of before. Who knew that Tiffany Sterling, as if she had foreseen it, directly stood up and took 2 steps forward, causing Kyle to miss. Her expression became cold. She looked at me and coldly smiled. "So that's why you suddenly asked me out." It was to get revenge. I and Kyle looked at each other and then rushed forward together. Now there was no turning back. Tonight, we had to take down this woman. Tiffany Sterling, looking at the 2 people rushing towards her, coldly smiled. A few minutes later, I and Kyle, bruised and battered, were sitting on the ground. Our clothes were torn and tattered, with several holes. We began to constantly beg, "Sister, we were wrong. Please forgive us. This was all his plan, it has nothing to do with me." Kyle, with panda eyes, pointed at me, without the slightest hesitation selling out his best friend. I wasn't much better either. There were several places on my body that had swollen up and were painfully throbbing. I also began to beg, "Baby, I was really wrong. I beg you to forgive me." Tiffany Sterling directly picked up the plastic bag from the ground and threw it in front of me, her tone calm. "Climb in yourself." Looking at the plastic bag thrown in front of me, my expression was a bit hesitant. This was originally prepared for Tiffany Sterling, now it was truly a case of shooting myself in the foot. I sat on the ground and gave a forced laugh. "Can't I not climb in?" Without saying anything, Tiffany Sterling directly walked towards the car, took out a small knife and threw it on the ground, emitting a clink, clink sound, indifferently saying, "Either get castrated, or climb into the plastic bag. Choose one yourself." "Then I'll choose the plastic bag," I said as I picked up the plastic bag and climbed in. Kyle, seeing this next to me, even thoughtfully gave me an extra rope, smiling. "Sister, use this rope, it's guaranteed to be strong enough." After sealing the bag tightly, Tiffany Sterling picked up the plastic bag with one hand and walked towards the car, opened the passenger seat door, and then directly threw the plastic bag inside. Kyle had to give a thumbs up in admiration. "This girl is really strong." And so, a kidnapping case ended with the kidnapper being kidnapped. The red Maybach sped away from the lakeside. Kyle stood up, brushed the dust off his body, feeling extremely refreshed at this moment, and seriously said, "Good brother, have a safe journey. As for your collection, I'll temporarily keep it safe for you." At the Sky Cloud Villa area, a red Maybach sped past, finally stopping in front of a villa courtyard. Two bodyguards who were guarding the door saw the young lady returning and came forward to respectfully open the car door. "Young miss, you're back." Tiffany Sterling coldly stepped out of the driver's seat, instructed the two bodyguards with a sentence, and then went upstairs. "Wash him clean and bring him to my room." "Yes." The two bodyguards answered, curiously opening the passenger seat door. A plastic bag rolled out from inside, still struggling. The strong smell of pee was so intense that even a trained bodyguard had to shake his head. The smell of pee is too strong. You don't even need to see the person to know this is good stuff. The two bodyguards put me on their shoulders and walked towards the bathroom, preparing to wash me clean. 20 minutes later, in the bedroom on the second floor of the villa, since the lights were not turned on, the room was very dark. On the bed, Tiffany Sterling had taken off her white coat and casually threw it down next to the bed, only wearing a silk nightgown. Her two slender legs were bent and placed on her knees, her head bowed down, looking at her fair and rosy bare feet, not knowing what she was thinking. This scene looked a bit desolate. She had lived like this for 20 years, living through the days without a goal. There was nothing worth mentioning, so she was always the best in all subjects, even passing the entrance exam into Jiangqing University with her own strength, not relying on her family's connections. Just this point alone surpassed half of the young ladies from wealthy families, achieving a true combination of talent and beauty. But these things were not what she wanted. A dull life without a goal had nothing left but boredom. Until she was easily surpassed by me in her studies. When Tiffany Sterling's grades surpassed her, I had not yet heard of Tiffany Sterling. The exam was a waste for those like us. Even so, I went through her record as well. Tiffany Sterling had never heard of my name and even investigated the freshman rankings because of this, still not finding anything. So, let's just consider it that way. I hurriedly nodded. I had already finished all the university lessons anyway. The main thing was that the daily classes were too boring, so I had directly asked the dean to let me self-study. Tiffany Sterling took another look at me and directly let go of my hand. Moving closer, she leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered in my ear, "Then go back to the dorm and prepare. Move your things over to my place this afternoon, okay?" I complained. Now, every day, she was thinking about controlling me. Moving in together, I didn't know how much more suffering I would have to endure. Absolutely not. We've only just met, and we're already living together? That's progressing too fast. Let's wait a while longer. I tactfully refused. Tiffany Sterling looked at my profile for a while. She didn't force it. "All right then. After school, I'll call you. If you dare not answer the phone, you're dead." After instructing me, Tiffany Sterling went towards the school building, thinking in her heart that maybe she should also ask to self-study. Anyway, it was just a sentence like that. That way, she could have more private time with me. When Tiffany Sterling went to school, I directly went back to my dorm. At this hour, Kyle had also gone to school. The dorm was empty. Sure enough, it was more comfortable to be alone. Sitting down, I pulled out a suitcase from under the bed. I had already made an appointment with Tammy for hiking tomorrow, so naturally I had to prepare the things I needed in advance. Thinking that for 3 days I wouldn't have to see Tiffany Sterling's cold face, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curl up. Hiking is great, hiking is amazing. On the mountain, Tiffany Sterling won't be able to find me. Thinking of this, my movements in packing my clothes became a bit faster. My head was full of thoughts of going to the mountain and not having to meet that crazy woman. I and Tammy were both members of the camping club, so naturally, we were also members. There were also 2 of Tammy's close friends participating. Time passed quickly. In the afternoon, after packing my things, I was sleeping in a corner of the library. The phone was constantly vibrating, but I didn't notice. A hand suddenly grabbed my ear, pulling my whole body up. Startled, I opened my eyes and immediately saw a cold face. Those icy eyes were staring at me as if looking at a corpse. One hand was carrying me up. Tiffany Sterling smiled coldly. I remember telling you to answer my phone, but as a result, you were here sleeping soundly. I felt the phone in my pocket constantly vibrating. My expression instantly froze, crying, I didn't sleep well last night, so I fell asleep a bit hard. Tiffany Sterling looked into my eyes for a while, confirming that I wasn't lying, before forgiving me, coldly saying, staying by my side and not sleeping well? Is there something you're not satisfied with about me? No way. I shook my head repeatedly, not daring to admit it. Otherwise, I would definitely get beaten. Seeing this, Tiffany Sterling snorted coldly, turning around and walking out of the library. Go. Take a walk with me. I didn't dare to refuse, wiping the drool from the corner of my mouth and hurriedly followed. Again, we walked until night. After accompanying Tiffany Sterling to all the fun places near the school, she finally released me back to the dorm. Kyle was packing for the hiking trip. He definitely wouldn't miss this. Closing the dorm door, I directly laid on the bed, casually asking, what time tomorrow morning? Doesn't Tammy tell you? Is there no bus pass for you? It was looked at as if he couldn't get a hold of it by a good friend who just came up. There was still a thing or two that wasn't said. Then it was filled with the hiking supplies that would be packed away. It's a bullet train at 12 o'clock tonight X. We'll arrive on time tomorrow night. Hearing this, I comforted myself, otherwise, I'd definitely have insomnia. Early the next morning, at the Sky Cloud Villa, Tiffany Sterling looked at the steak in front of her, feeling a bit nauseous. It wasn't as delicious as the stir-fried beef and scallions that I had cooked. Moreover, eating alone felt very dull, like going back to the time before. No, I have to get that guy back, otherwise, I won't feel at ease. Thinking this, Tiffany Sterling immediately took out her phone to call me, but her expression darkened immediately. Hello, the subscriber you're calling is busy, please call again later. The phone hung up immediately, not even letting the ring finish once. What did this mean? Tiffany Sterling slammed her fist on the dining table, her expression visibly darkening. Very well, so bold, daring to put me on the blacklist? It's true that men need to be disciplined to be good. Tiffany Sterling immediately lost her appetite, directly grabbing her coat and walking out of the villa, her expression as dark as if it was about to rain. Just wait to die. At the ticket counter of a mountain climbing scenic spot, I raised my hand and took a deep breath, looking towards the forest ahead, unable to resist shouting, "Freedom, here I come." Hearing my shout, Tammy, wearing a cream-colored dress past her knees, came over and said, "What are you shouting for? Aren't you ashamed?" All around were tourists who had come to climb the mountain, and everyone was looking at me with strange eyes. Is it just climbing a mountain? Look at how excited this kid is. Alright. Let's go. At this time, Kyle, wearing a backpack, finally checked his tickets and came over. Everyone went towards the mountain path ahead. After taking the high-speed train for 3 hours, crossing several provinces to come to Mount Lee, you must relax and enjoy the scenery. Tammy, wearing a small bag, with her beautiful face, attracted no small amount of attention from passers-by. Although she wasn't as devastatingly beautiful as Tiffany Sterling, she could also be ranked among the rare beauties. Lewis, these past few days, I've been reading a lot of rumors about you on the school forum. I heard you're dating the young lady of the Sterling Corporation? Is that true? Tammy looked at me with strange eyes, wanting to see something from my expression. Beside her, Kyle disdainfully said, "He's not dating the young lady, it's clearly the young lady pursuing him." She even wanted to stuff him in a pea bag, causing me to get beaten up. Hearing the words pea bag, Tammy looked at me in surprise, her expression calm. I didn't expect, after entering university, that habit hasn't been corrected yet. Kyle, hearing this, was surprised and asked, "What habit? Does this guy have some special habit? Tell me about it." "It's really nothing." Tammy simply recounted an incident that happened in high school. It was roughly that, in high school, a young master from a wealthy family had provoked me. As a result, that night, this guy kidnapped the person and threw him in a smelly sewer with few passers-by. It took 2 days before someone discovered him. But only Tammy knew about this matter because at that time, she was very close to me, so naturally, I rarely hid anything. Everyone went up the mountain. In terms of time, it had already passed an hour. The people walking behind were getting fewer and fewer. No small amount of people had chosen to give up. At this time, on the highway, a red Maybach was constantly overtaking cars, speeding towards the end of the road at extremely fast speed. In the car, a bodyguard with a racing license was driving the car skillfully. The gas pedal was fully pressed, and they were driving at the fastest speed. Tiffany Sterling sat in the back seat, her expression unsightly, her eyes revealing gloom, crossing her slender legs and clenching her hands tightly. "He's really good, having a girlfriend and daring to go hiking with other girls? More importantly, not even saying a word to me?" In Tiffany Sterling's heart, like a volcano erupting, angry emotions were constantly piling up in her heart. She only wanted to quickly find me, then let me taste a beating. After a long mountain climb, finally, the 3 people reached the summit of Mount Lee. Unsurprisingly, they saw a Taoist temple. Looking down below, the clouds and mist were hazy. Tammy stretched out her arms wide, taking a deep breath. "Even the air is much fresher." Kyle, who was used to being a gamer, was now panting heavily, hiding in a corner. With his physical strength, being able to persist in climbing to the summit was already very difficult. After all, he usually rewarded himself with food under the guise of relieving pressure, and the nutrition in his body completely couldn't keep up, so now it had become private time for Tammy and me. "We've known each other for almost 5 years, right?" Tammy suddenly said. "About that," I replied, enjoying the beautiful scenery on the mountain. I suspiciously turned my head to look at her. Tammy also turned her head to look. The eyes of the 2 people met. It could be said that this was a once-in-a-millennium opportunity. Tammy closed her eyes, took a deep breath, then opened her eyes, firmly looking at you, gathering all her courage to say, "Actually, I." Just as the last 3 words were about to come out, a helicopter rotor suddenly sounded. This loud sound echoed in everyone's ears, unable to resist covering their ears. Even the words Tammy was about to say had stopped at this time, unable to resist looking towards the source of the sound. They only saw on the summit of Mount Lee a new model helicopter constantly flying higher, finally stopping right in front of me and Tammy. Seeing this helicopter, I seemed to suddenly remember something in my head, thinking of something. My expression immediately changed. "Damn it, this isn't good." Sure enough, immediately, the helicopter door opened. Tiffany Sterling coldly jumped down from above, her eyes quickly locking onto me and Tammy beside me. "Very well, so you really did go find girls? See if I won't beat you." Just as Tammy was surprised at how Tiffany Sterling could appear here, I had already reacted in time, immediately running down the mountain. In just the blink of an eye, I couldn't be seen. Climbing the mountain was slow, but going down the mountain, you only wanted to have 2 more legs. I directly used all my strength in my life, my 2 legs running as fast as flying. Are you kidding me? Going out hiking alone to be quiet, but letting this crazy woman discover and block me like this, I'm definitely going to die. You dare to run? Tiffany Sterling glared and chased right after, her speed not at all inferior to me running. It was even faster. Soon, no small amount of people had discovered this comical scene. Others were all trying hard to climb to the summit, but only 2 people were running down the mountain faster than anyone else, as if there were ghosts chasing behind them. But what did I think ghosts were? They were even more terrifying than being chased by the person behind. That fierce woman was more terrifying. If you have the guts, stop right there. Behind me, Tiffany Sterling was constantly chasing. I quickly ran ahead. At this time I had already begun to pant. Turning my head, I shouted, "Only an idiot would stop. If you have the guts, don't chase." It took the whole morning to climb to the summit, but going down the mountain, it only took an hour. Almost running with all my strength, panting a few breaths, I saw the ticket counter was only a few hundred meters away from me. Then, turning my head to look behind, I didn't see the woman chasing. I had finally escaped her. Thinking that I was about to escape, I couldn't help but speed up a bit, a smug smile on my face. After a while, I had arrived at the ticket counter. Just as I was about to leave Mount Lee, from the ticket counter, suddenly, several bodyguards wearing black appeared over there. I had already left the ticket counter, hearing the sound, instinctively turning my head to look. Then, immediately, I shouted, "Damn it! That's not fair." Seeing several bodyguards quickly chasing after me, I didn't dare to hesitate for a moment. Regardless of my tired body, I once again ran wildly until, 5 minutes later, I was hopelessly carried back by a bodyguard, directly being thrown into a black Bentley. Around the car, there were several bodyguards patrolling and guarding. Climbing to the summit of Mount Lee, my physical strength had been almost completely consumed. In addition to being chased by Tiffany Sterling all the way, my body had long since reached its limit. It was more than 10 minutes later that Tiffany Sterling coldly walked down the mountain. A bodyguard hurriedly handed over a bottle of water, respectfully saying, "Miss, we've put young Master Lewis in the car." Tiffany Sterling took a sip of water and went straight towards the car. Then, she pulled open the car door, just in time to see me secretly trying to open the car door. The car door suddenly opened, causing me to be startled. Sensing something, I froze, turning my head to see Tiffany Sterling's gloomy expression. I awkwardly scratched my head. What are you doing here? Did you also come to climb the mountain?" Tiffany Sterling, hearing this, was made to laugh by this guy. A fierce look flashed in her eyes. She directly sat in the car and slammed the door shut. A moment later, in the car, there were cries of my pain, accompanied by my pleas. "Sister, don't hit my face. I only wanted to take advantage of the holiday to go out and relax. I accidentally blocked your number." The car parked on the side of the road began to shake. Passers-by looked over at this side with strange eyes. To tell the truth, if they hadn't heard the cries of pain from the car, they would have thought that in broad daylight, someone was doing something exciting. Young people these days are really playing too hard. This beating lasted more than 10 minutes before gradually stopping. In the car, Tiffany Sterling coldly stared at me, who was cowering in the corner of the car. Shoes were thrown haphazardly. One bare foot stepped on my chest, pressing me down. She said in a cold voice, "Tell me, who was that woman who was with you?" My body trembled slightly. On her arm, there were several tooth marks. Tremblingly, I said, "That's just my friend. It's really not what you think." Immediately, I screamed, feeling the foot stepping on my chest getting stronger and stronger. For a time, I had some difficulty breathing. Tiffany Sterling, one foot pressing on me, coldly said, "Are you sure? If you dare to lie to me, I'll throw you into the sea for the fish to eat. It's all the truth." "How would I dare to lie to you?" I hurriedly nodded, afraid that if I spoke a little slower, I would be kicked again. Staring into my eyes for a while, Tiffany Sterling finally released her foot, laying down on the seat, lowered the car window, and said to the bodyguard outside in a cold voice, "Drive back to Jiangqing." The bodyguard followed orders, and soon after, several cars left in succession. Tammy and Kyle, the two of them, slowly arrived, only seeing the tail lights of the car speeding away on the highway. I was putting a band-aid on my mouth. This woman spoke too cruelly, without the slightest regard. At this time, Tiffany Sterling moved closer to me and directly sat on my lap, laying in my arms. Smelling the fragrance exuding from the person in my arms, I became quiet, pressing my face against her chest. Tiffany Sterling softly said, "Hug me." I had to put down the band-aid and gently hugged Tiffany Sterling, who was lying in my arms. Smelling the fragrance exuding from her, I couldn't help but have a slightly dry mouth. I glanced over, seeing that when Tiffany Sterling had gotten into the car, she had thrown the mineral water bottle aside. At this time, there was still more than half a bottle left. I directly picked it up, conveniently opening the cap, about to tip my head back to drink a gulp when suddenly, Tiffany Sterling raised her hand and snatched it away. She lifted my chin. Thirsty? I could only nod. This little devil really knew how to bully people. Tiffany Sterling slightly sat up, her hand holding the mineral water, shaking it once, then took a big gulp, holding it in her mouth. She looked at me with provocative eyes, pointing at her red lips. The meaning was very clear. If I wanted to drink water, it was very simple: take it from her mouth. Understanding her meaning, I suddenly felt that I was no longer thirsty, shaking my head. You drink it. Just as I said this, Tiffany Sterling's expression immediately turned cold. She directly swallowed the water in her mouth, coldly threatening me, if you don't drink now, I guarantee that for 3 days, you won't be able to drink a drop of water. After saying this, Tiffany Sterling took another big gulp, holding it in her mouth, then opened the car window. She directly poured all the remaining water in the bottle out, then casually threw the bottle into the car. The car suddenly became silent. After a short silence, when Tiffany Sterling was about to swallow this water, I finally moved, closing my eyes and kissing Tiffany Sterling's red lips. The water in her mouth had been taken by me, swallowing a few times before the two lips slowly separated. My face was slightly red, my eyes unconsciously looking out the window. But how could Tiffany Sterling easily let me off like this? Directly kissing me again, her movements becoming stronger and stronger, my body couldn't help but have a reaction. I was also a normal man. A beauty like Tiffany Sterling lying in my arms, this alone was already seductive enough. Now, she was still forcing a kiss. This reaction was immediately recognized by Tiffany Sterling. Her lips slightly opened, feeling the hotness below, provocative eyes staring at me, gently saying, "So fast, already can't take it anymore? Do you want me to help?" No need. I stubbornly turned my head to look out the window, not daring to look directly at those lustful eyes, but this wasn't up to me to decide. Tiffany Sterling again pressed her body against me, her plump breasts pressing against my chest, smiling seductively. Really don't need it? The opportunity is only once. Feeling the wonderful sensation transmitted from her breasts, my breathing couldn't help but become heavier. Directly biting my tongue once, my head became a bit clearer. Seeing my action, Tiffany Sterling directly grabbed my hand, slowly putting it inside her mesh pants. "What are you doing?" I was frightened by her sudden bold action. This wasn't something that could be done casually, hurriedly wanting to pull my hand out. Tiffany Sterling softly hummed, her soft body leaning against my chest, letting me feel it. Feeling the sensation from the tips of my fingers, swallowing my saliva, my voice was a bit hoarse. "You'll regret it." Regret? Tiffany Sterling, lying hotly in my arms, raised her head to look into my eyes, then directly kissed me. She wanted to use her actions to tell me her answer. Regret? Tiffany Sterling, she never regrets. Near dinner time, the red Maybach finally returned to Jiangqing. In the car, Tiffany Sterling, her face flushed red, was lying neatly in my arms, her two hands hugging my waist. Because of the intimacy just now, she was now closing her eyes and resting. I half lay by the car window, my hand holding Tiffany Sterling to prevent her from falling, at the same time looking at her with complicated eyes. In my head, I unconsciously recalled the scene just now. After already doing something so intimate, wanting to ignore this woman in the future was probably impossible. I wasn't the type of person to eat and run. Although just now, I really had dark thoughts, Tiffany Sterling seducing me, but it was also only to blame me for not being able to control myself. Thinking of this, I unconsciously sighed, causing Tiffany Sterling in my arms to be dissatisfied. She raised her head to look at me with unfriendly eyes, coldly saying, "What is it? So dissatisfied with me?" My body trembled slightly, hurriedly shaking my head. "No, don't misunderstand. I just felt a bit sorry. I finally climbed to the summit, but didn't even get to see the scenery properly before having to run." Tiffany Sterling, lying in my arms, her eyes searching, looked at me for a while, then coldly snorted. Tonight, don't even think about going back to the dorm. Move to my place. Before I could reveal any resistance, I was pulled down by Tiffany Sterling, my head being pulled down, our lips once again touching. A moment later, Tiffany Sterling's hand slowly released my neck, lightly licking her red lips, her eyes looking straight into me, saying a statement full of dominance, "You're mine until I'm tired of you. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, I'll catch you back." I gave a wry smile. "Then you have to get tired of me quickly, so I can have a way to live." Hearing this, Tiffany Sterling moved closer, kissing my neck once. "Then you should give up that thought early on. I'm a person who is stuck on what I like. I may never get tired of you in my whole life. Instead of having time to dream about how to make me tired of you, you might as well think of how to serve me better." Tiffany Sterling leaned over, lightly licking my lips, smiling playfully and seductively. "Maybe I'll reward you with no small amount of good things." Just as the flame of desire in both of our hearts was about to burst, the car stopped. "So we've already arrived home." The Skykid Villa Red Maybach stopped. In the villa courtyard, the driver said a sentence and, knowing better, opened the door and walked out. Only Tiffany Sterling and I were left in the car. The atmosphere instantly became quiet, only the sound of our breathing remained. Tiffany Sterling was still sitting on my lap, her arms around my neck, her red lips slightly parted, softly saying, "Honey, carry me inside, okay?" I really wanted to say, "Don't you have legs?" but in the end, helplessly pushed open the car door and carried Tiffany Sterling, a fair maiden, into the villa, heading straight to the main bedroom on the second floor. I put Tiffany Sterling down on the bed, intending to turn around and leave, but was called back by her. "Stop." Tiffany Sterling, seeing that I didn't hesitate to turn around and leave, her expression turned cold. "Where are you planning to go?" At this time, I had already walked to the door, awkwardly turning around, stuttering, "I'm going to sleep in another room, what's wrong?" "It's already late. Even if you wanted to go back to the dorm, you'd have to wait until tomorrow, so today, you can only stay at Tiffany Sterling's luxurious villa for one night." Hearing this, Tiffany Sterling exuded a fierce coldness, standing up and walking from the bed down to in front of me, barefoot. She raised her hand and grabbed my collar, her expression gloomy. "What did you just say?" "Say it again." I was pushed into a corner of the wall, squatting down, looking at the gloomy face in front of me, my heart filled with fear, hurriedly correcting myself. I was saying I'm hungry, wanting to go downstairs and cook something to eat." "Hungry, huh?" Hearing this, Tiffany Sterling only then realized that she was also a bit hungry. After all, early in the morning, she had gone to catch someone, and hadn't eaten anything until now. Thinking this, she released my hand, switching to hugging my waist, looking at me and smiling. "Then that's good. I thought you were planning to run away. Go. Make me a serving while you're at it." Seeing that her expression had returned to normal, I breathed a sigh of relief in my heart, not daring to hesitate, pushing open the door and running towards the kitchen. Tiffany Sterling stood in front of the bedroom door, looking at my flustered figure running downstairs, thinking of something. A rascally smile appeared on her face. She directly turned around and went to the closet, opening the closet, pulling out a small drawer. Inside, neatly organized and arranged, were all sorts of socks. Regardless of whether they were white socks, black socks, or fishnet stockings, they were all there. It could be said that everything was complete. Glancing at her long jade legs, in the end, Tiffany Sterling took a pair from among them and put them on, going to the kitchen downstairs. After checking the ingredients, I simply made 2 servings of fragrant fried rice. My superb flipping skills amazed the chefs. If nothing unexpected happened, they might have been threatened. Not long after, 10 or so minutes later, I carried 2 servings of fried rice upstairs. The aroma wafted out. Before even entering the room, you could smell the rich fragrance. Stepping into the door, the lights in the room lit up. I placed the 2 servings of steaming fried rice on the small table by the window, not turning my head, and said to Tiffany Sterling, who was lying in the blanket, "Let's eat." But before I could sit down, a pair of arms from behind hugged my waist. Something soft was pressed against my back. Only hearing Tiffany Sterling softly say, "You feed me, okay?" I hurriedly said, "Okay, but can you let go of me?" Things like this are very easy to happen this way. A moment later, Tiffany Sterling sat back on my lap, the flesh-colored stockings particularly prominent. I tried to avert my eyes, not daring to look at that alluring valley, but the feeling of silk from her legs transmitted, constantly provoking my nerves. Tiffany Sterling smiled, tilting her head to look at me. "How is it? Beautiful?" "Just average." I directly picked up the bowl and fed her a bite at a time. Tiffany Sterling wasn't in a hurry either, obediently sitting on my lap, eating rice, occasionally shaking her slender legs, seemingly teasing someone. But luckily, I had tried my best to endure it, managing to persist in finishing the meal. "I'll go wash the dishes. You sleep first." I planned to find an excuse to lead this den of wolves first, but before I could stand up, my lips were blocked by Tiffany Sterling's red lips. Tiffany Sterling directly kissed my lips. A moment later, she separated, smiling and saying, "Washing the dishes can be done anytime. What do you think we should do now?" But just as she said this, Tiffany Sterling suddenly felt her head spinning, then abruptly closing her eyes, falling down. I hurriedly reached out to hug her, looking at the sleeping face of the girl. I breathed a sigh of relief, smugly smiling. I didn't expect the drug to take effect so quickly. "Sure enough, be careful when you mess with me." Carefully carrying the sleeping Tiffany Sterling, I stood up, pulled back a corner of the blanket, and placed her on the bed. After tucking her in, I stepped out of the room. Ever since I was tied to the bed by Tiffany Sterling last time, Kyle had gotten a strong version of sleeping pills from his house, guaranteeing that they could sleep all day without any problems. I had always carried the pills with me, and now they had finally come in handy. This young lady's actions tonight were clearly wanting to eat me raw. How could I go along with her wishes? If Mom found out I was messing around at school, she would definitely fly here overnight with a frying pan. Leaving the bedroom, I stood in the living room on the second floor, looking out the window. The stars shone in the night. It had been a long time since it had been so lively. Retracting my gaze, I thought for a moment, then decided to escape that very night. If I waited until tomorrow for her to wake up, knowing that I had drugged her, she might grab a knife and chop me. Under the cover of the night, I sneaked out of the window from the room next door. After landing on the ground, looking at the patrolling bodyguards around me, pretending as if nothing had happened, I walked towards the main gate. Very quickly, I was discovered by a team of patrolling bodyguards, blocking me. It's the one whom the young lady sees good from outside." The team head was one whom took me to be here today. "I know they are like gold," so I said nothing and carried on. After putting some lotion on, I said while stuttering, "At those who are at your home, please go and come back." It was nice to see he was listening since his head was bobbing up and down and he was a walking guard. After seeing the sideways nod, I let out a long sigh. The steps were like a march to leave the home. I could just let that all be done while I have no care in the world to go. It was hard to breath slow, I was walking so it hurt. A bright light has come so early. With the sight of my face it was still sleep, the wind was pushing my way, it was hard to get to that point. I was woken up and what was going on with all the turns, the first thing coming up was I have a guy. The thoughts were like lighting at the way Lewis had that food in his mouth and all over. The red bok and not seeing anyone out. I could let that go, but the feeling was like there has been someone close to me. I cannot believe if not. I had to know what just had to be done. Getting ready was done with water, and after doing so Tiffany got to drive to Zhang's uni and all guards were doing well knowing with no care. With all those guys, Tiffany was more angry than ever. The end is so near with that guy's life. At where I slept at the campus, there was not what would I like but where it was. It was a great way to see others, and the door being open just made more to what could the place. The person who had me said a great thing to do. If not all those the time will make it to where, and walking where could I get the call to say to him now? I didn't know I could say with what I was so good to the edge and make it not with me or with all of it. Saying all of it made it more no to where I could be. I did not get or take the call when I was getting what would do and was told. On my way was there but they couldn't to all I would say so I was doing to what could to go back. It was nice with getting all that had to come was to two. You could do so, they said with me as a test. The one and I were like a dream. Now with nothing I was taking it like a joke to be. There had to be to all. When I could tell there has been all. That man just died the call said with that there came no. With them all gone there was a fight at with my world of to do. It's now. They said what I had to be. The red Bach was on the way. The great had it coming. I wanted to be there and to know with a fight that was on. I know there but not all to do and the test but it. The red was running. The fight was on. I wanted to hold. The test and all. All I can say or hold. The great all to do and all to know was that could make one see who was to hold. But I got it all at make the great be and for one to go and not show. I was ready but not there I said. No time to be all what is done, one said. In world that was made from what I was now there but that was it. The one was running. Sleeping soundly, completely unaware of the turning point in his life that was about to arrive. In the chairman's office on the top floor of the Sterling Corporation in Jiangqing, a woman with a noble air was handling documents in her hand, her cold and serious expression 7 or 8 parts similar to Tiffany Sterling. She was Tiffany Sterling's mother, and also the chairman of the Sterling Corporation, having held the position of the richest person in China for 3 consecutive years. In the quiet office, only the sound of the fountain pen writing incessantly was audible, very pleasant to listen to, but it was interrupted by the sound of a phone ringing. Looking at the illuminated phone screen, Zhao Yun frowned but still put down her pen, answering the phone, her voice extremely indifferent. The voice of the butler came from the other end of the line, not knowing what he said. Zhao Yun's expression changed slightly but still maintained her cold expression as before. After listening to the report, she only indifferently said, "If that child wants to play, then let her play. Anyway, it's only less than 2 years left. In the future, these small matters don't need to be reported to me anymore." After saying this, Zhao Yun directly hung up the phone, turning her attention back to the documents in front of her, concentrating on her work. At a hotel on the outskirts of Jiangqing, the hotel owner's mouth was taped shut, obediently squatting in the corner. After Tiffany Sterling found out the room number, she went straight upstairs, a cold air exuding from her body, causing others to fear her, instinctively wanting to avoid her. 3 minutes later, Tiffany Sterling stood in front of the room door, not turning her head, coldly ordering the bodyguards behind her, "Without my order, no one is allowed to approach this room. Later, even if you hear any movements, don't come in." The bodyguards nodded, quickly taking control of the entire hotel, not forgetting to transfer a sum of money into the hotel owner's account. Stepping into the room, it was already noon, but I was still sleeping soundly on the bed, the corners of my mouth occasionally smiling, seemingly dreaming of something happy. Tiffany Sterling didn't rush to act, but after locking the door, sat down by the bedside, grinning widely, revealing her jade-white legs, slowly taking off her coat. After doing everything, Tiffany Sterling went straight to bed. Perhaps because the bed was too old, every step she took made a creaking sound. "Sleeping so soundly, huh?" Tiffany Sterling looked down at me from above, then raised her foot and kicked hard at my stomach. Immediately, a wail rang out in the room, causing the bodyguards guarding outside to feel sorry for him. In the large bed in the room, feeling the pain from my stomach, I painfully curled up, my mouth trembling. I looked in surprise at Tiffany Sterling, who was coldly looking at me right in front of me. "How are you here?" Tiffany Sterling faintly smiled, the smile extremely cold. "In this Jiangqing, as long as I want, there's nothing I don't know." After saying this, Tiffany Sterling slightly sat up, one hand grabbing my collar, gently pulling me up, her eyes exuding a terrifying coldness, coldly saying, "Haven't I treated you well enough? I've already let you touch me, yet you still want to run away? Do you hate me that much?" I was about to explain when a gust of wind came from the side. A crisp slap sounded in the room. My right cheek clearly showed a red handprint. I shockingly held my burning right cheek, the fire of anger in my heart erupting, angrily shouting at Tiffany Sterling, "Are you crazy?" Tiffany Sterling coldly sneered, word by word saying, "Today, not only am I crazy, but so are you. It's just that I'll teach you to be crazy. See if you still dare to run away in the future." After saying this, the quiet room constantly echoed with my cries, the sound of continuous slaps not stopping, the cries ceaseless. "Let you run. Let you not listen. Let you seduce strange girls." At first, I had still intended to resist, but after tasting a few slaps, I discovered that the strength between me and this woman was completely not on the same level. Not only could I not resist, Tiffany Sterling even became crazier. But what was even crazier was yet to come. After hitting me for more than 10 minutes, Tiffany Sterling seemed a bit tired, temporarily stopping, panting, looking at me lying on the bed. At this time I was heavily breathing, several places on my body were swollen red. On my face, there were several red handprints. Until this moment, I still hadn't admitted defeat. Towards the person who was sitting on my body, I gritted my teeth and said to Tiffany Sterling, "You're a psycho. Just you wait." Seeing my unyielding reaction, Tiffany Sterling smiled a smile mixed with madness and morbidity, again raising her hand. I looked at the hand that was reaching towards my face, reflexively closing my eyes. But a soft feeling came from my face. Tiffany Sterling suddenly gently looked at me, her right hand lightly caressing my cheek, seemingly having some regret. Immediately, not waiting for me to react, her rich red lips had kissed me. Both of my hands were tightly held by Tiffany Sterling's left hand, completely unable to struggle. I widened my eyes, my mouth sealed, unable to breathe, my body beginning to struggle fiercely, wanting to push Tiffany Sterling, who was sitting on me, away. Tiffany Sterling leaned down, kissing me passionately, that hand not standing still, directly grabbing my neck. Her red lips temporarily parted, licking the corner of her mouth, she coldly smiled. "If you don't want to suffer more, it's best not to struggle, otherwise, I can't guarantee that I can control myself." Saying this, Tiffany Sterling again kissed my lips, her small tongue constantly teasing. The bodies of the two people had both begun to heat up. After struggling for a while, I closed my eyes, as if accepting my fate, seemingly giving up resisting, letting Tiffany Sterling madly plunder. This hot kiss lasted more than an hour. Even Tiffany Sterling was panting, lying beside me, while I was already like a soulless corpse, in my eyes a look of wanting to live, having been tortured to the point of being unrecognizable. But Tiffany Sterling was very satisfied with this appearance of me, raising her hand to stroke my cheek, smiling and saying, "Tell me, what do you not like about me? I treat you so well. If it was someone else, maybe their whole life they wouldn't even get to come into contact with a social class like mine." I was lying beside the bed, blankly looking at the ceiling, my voice terrifyingly calm. "If you're talking about being together for 3 days and hitting me 3 times, then I can't like it. Being together and it's like this, who can bear to torture themselves?" Tiffany Sterling pinched my cheek, frowning, dissatisfied saying, "Don't you see that I've already rewarded you? Don't think that because I'm tired, you can say whatever you want. It's best to pay attention to how you speak. This time is a lesson. I've already said, until I'm tired of you, even if you run to the ends of the earth, I'll find you. Don't doubt my words." I glared at her once, and then the room again rang out with a crisp slap. Tiffany Sterling retracted her hand, coldly saying, "Pay attention to your attitude." I was completely helpless towards this woman, only being able to silently lie on the bed without moving. That way, I could hurt less. A moment later, Tiffany Sterling's jade-white small feet touched the ground, lightly ordering, "Get up. I'll take you to buy some living necessities. Seeing that you were still aware of what was going on just now, I may not pursue the matter from yesterday, but tonight, no matter what, you have to go home with me." Speaking to here, Tiffany Sterling's eyes looking at me were even colder, her voice threateningly stern. "If you dare to drug me again, I guarantee that if I don't chop off your hand, then I'm not the young lady of the Sterling family." I didn't at all doubt the authenticity of these words, only being able to helplessly sit up from the bed. Not moving was better. Just moving made all the places that had been beaten ache, unable to resist taking a cold breath. This little devil can't be a little more lenient? Really hits people too hard. Going into the bathroom, washing my face perfunctorily, Tiffany Sterling grabbed my hand and walked out of the hotel, getting into the red Maybach, driving towards the Central District. The bodyguards drove behind us, following. The hotel owner also stepped out, smiling and waving to them, his face full of excitement. What a great next come soon. Good is just hiding for me. It would for sure add up what they say a good year income will be. On the deserted road, in the speeding car, I looked with a bitter expression at Tiffany Sterling sitting on my lap, hugging my neck, the faint fragrance constantly wafting over. What's wrong? Not happy? Tiffany Sterling glanced at me, her voice without a look of threat, but I knew what was on the way if I did not say anything. I would just say nothing. Seeing this, Tiffany Sterling snorted coldly, pressing her face against my chest, looking just like a well-behaved girl, completely unlike the kind of woman who liked domestic violence. To tell the truth, I also felt that if this woman wasn't too violent, maybe I would like her, but unfortunately, being beaten every day, I still remembered clearly. On the road to the shopping center, the two people didn't say anything, the atmosphere becoming especially quiet. Tiffany Sterling lay quietly in my arms, closing her eyes as if resting. Seemingly, being in my arms made her feel safe enough, while I only intently looked at the bustling street scene flashing past outside the car window, thinking in my heart how I should treat this girl. According to the current situation, Tiffany Sterling was like she had completely stuck to me. What was more serious was that I was completely unable to escape her. Even running to the outskirts could be found out. But talking about accepting her, I thought of her violent teaching methods, unable to resist shivering. I couldn't understand how a good young lady should be gentle and polite. Why was the tendency for violence so serious? The red light in front lit up. The red Maybach slowly stopped. More than 10 cars behind slowly came and stopped behind the lane. Regardless of whether it was Tiffany Sterling or the bodyguards behind, they didn't pay attention to the 3 men sitting in the black car behind on the right, who were observing them. The thin man sitting in the passenger seat glanced at the red Maybach, picked up the phone, and leisurely said, "Boss, I found the location of that little chick. Now's the best opportunity to kidnap her."